Hello all, I'm Sai and in today's video I'm bringing to you my short review of Wild Fictions, which are essays by Amitav Ghosh. This is a collection of essays written by the author during different parts of his life and when he was doing different kinds of jobs that got published in various different media, and all of them are collected together inside this collection. There are also one or two, if I'm not wrong, which he has written for this particular collection itself. Since it's a non-fiction book and a collection of essays in specific, I don't have much to talk about this in terms of a review because it's much more of a discussion kind of book rather than a reviewing book. But as I selected as my book club pick for September, I'm just reviewing this in a short manner here. So without any further ado, let's get into the video right away. So this one's a collection of multiple essays written by the author, and we can see the progression of him as a writer as he has written each and every essay during different parts of his life. And he talks about things that happened during his college life until the very recent times also. And each and every one of these essays are really detailed. If you're someone who does not like reading essays, this is not a collection for you because it will bore you out very much because it is quite dry. But I myself personally enjoyed a lot of it because I was listening to the audiobook and parallelly followed on with the physical copy, which I think was the best choice for me. If I had read this physically itself, I don't think I would have been able to finish this book as soon as I read. Even if you're taking 2 or 3 months to finish this book, it's totally fine because it is quite dry. So keep that in mind. Don't force yourself to read it fast because it's not something that you can read fast and grasp in any way. It took a lot of time for me to imbibe the things that the author is saying also because there's so much content here. The audiobook itself was nearly 20 to 24 hours long, so it's quite a heavy, thick book. I'm saying not heavy, not in the sense of its physicality, but the amount of content it has. It's also graphic at times for some of the things that it describes because it talks about various topics. Some of the topics that the author covers inside this one are global warming and the drastic change of climate and weather patterns across different regions inside the world, and how we as people inside India are still following the same kind of geographical structure or political functioning that was given to us by the British during their colonial rule still just because it's comfortable for us, and how that can impact us on a huge scale if we have some kind of huge natural calamity happening inside the country, especially in the coastal areas of the country, because most of the important cities except Delhi are situated in the coastal areas of our country. For example, Chennai, Mumbai, Vizag and so if we have a tsunami, there's a huge probability that most of the things in these cities will be affected to a huge extent, thus impacting the country too. We know that Maharashtra as well as Tamil Nadu are huge grocers when it comes to the GDP of the country, and two of the most important cities inside these two states will be affected if there's a tsunami happening in these particular coasts in specific. And the author goes in details and shows us how it can impact us based on the tsunami that we had 2 decades back in our own country. Apart from climate change, he also goes forward and talks a lot about literature, which is very juicy and nice to read. I like the parts of the book which dealt with him talking about literature and his love for literature and language in specific very much. There's also this huge section of the book in which the author goes forward and talks about the impact or part of India when it comes to the First World War. And we don't have any kind of memoirs that are related to the world wars from our own country written by our own Indians, except for a very few which the author talks about here itself. And they are also not easily accessible for everyone in the world. And I think it was not accessible for people, at least during the time in which the author has written these essays. It was very mind-boggling for me to read and see how much our Indian soldiers have gone through for the sake of the British without having any kind of privileges or even basic rights at all. It can make your blood boil, it can make you feel very agitated, irritated, and the patriotism inside us will just bubble up because of the things that we see here, because they are very inhuman, to put it in the least descriptive terms. Apart from that, we also have a chunk of the book which talks about the partition when it comes to India, especially the partition of Bengal, and how a lot of people from Bengal were affected during the time. And he also goes forward and talks about the Bengal famine, which is just as worse, if not worse, than the Holocaust. The amount of cruelty that our country had been put through and plundered by the British during the colonial era is so vividly shown by the author here. Another great book that you can read if you want to see the effects of colonialism on our country is God's Concerned Missionaries by Manu S. Pillai. I read both of these in September, and trust me, if you read both of these books back to back or parallelly, you'll be able to see how much injustice has been done for our country as a whole. They've not just enslaved us and colonized us, but taken away way too much time we can ever even fathom of dreaming. Seriously, even talking about these stuff makes me so angry, and I can see the blood in my body getting hotter because of all the cruelty that we've been put through, especially the soldiers whom the author talks about here. I don't want anyone to be in the positions that they were in because it's strictly not something anyone should be experiencing at all in the world. There is also a section of the book in which the author talks about the migration of people from different parts of the world especially into the West, more into different European countries as well as the US. It was mind-boggling to read how these things were, because so much is happening around the world right now and so many people are migrating just because they don't have jobs in their own countries, and their countries are not the only reason for them not having jobs. We also see that most of our high paying population is trying to get out of the country because of various things that are happening inside our country itself, and it just makes you think, okay, it just makes you think of scary stuff that can happen to anyone in the world, people in our own families, people in our own homes, and so much more. If you can handle all that stuff without overthinking and troubling yourself, just go forward and read this. I'm sure you'll get out of this book a much more knowledgeable person than you entered it. So as a whole, I can say that my experience of reading this book was quite intense and a little bit dry at times because of so much data being just poured onto me. Apart from that, I can say that I got a lot of knowledge from this book, and I'm very glad that I read it too. If not for the book club, I don't know when I would have picked this up at all. And I ended up rating the book 4 out of 5 stars. I hope this review was useful for you, and if you're going to pick up the book after hearing me talk about it, please do let me know down in the comments what you're expecting from it. Or if you've read the book, please do let me know your opinions of the book also down in the comments, because I'd like to discuss it with you. If you did find this video useful, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. And if you want to get more content from me, do subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day.